Yo guys, what's going on? I'm Tim for The Real Sports Talk. You can like The Real Sports Talk on Facebook, and you can also follow me on Twitter at CashKelly, K-A-S-H Kelly _TRST. And the Oklahoma City Thunder, who we thought about a week ago were all but done, have magically reeled off 3 games in a row to take a 3-2 lead, and they are now a win away from going to the NBA Finals for the first time in their history, at least as far as the Oklahoma City part of their franchise is concerned. And they get a win today where, no, not everyone played well the entire game. Russell Westbrook didn't have a great game. Kevin Durant had a slow first half. And James Harden came along a lot more in the fourth quarter, but they had guys like Nick Collison step up throughout this game and make some big shots for them early on. Daquan Cook made a few shots early on to keep them in this game. Even Serge Ibaka had some shots early on to keep them in the game, keep them afloat. And then ultimately the big stars, maybe not quite as much Russell Westbrook tonight, but Kevin Durant comes up big late in this game again, especially at the end of that third quarter. And then James Harden as well comes up big at the end of this game with a few clutch threes to give the Oklahoma City Thunder a 106-103 win, or sorry, 108-103 win to finish off Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals, and the Oklahoma City Thunder head home with a 3-2 lead. Overall, let me go through some of the notes that I had on this game. It was a slow first half for the Spurs because Kevin Durant hadn't played all that well. Russell Westbrook really did not look all that well, and yet the Thunder still went into the first half, or ended the first half with the lead. Nick Collison, I should say, as I mentioned, did play very well. The Spurs, we know how good Greg Popovich is at getting the nasty out of guys, coming out in that second half and getting them to play well after slow first halves, and the Spurs did do that. They go on a 10-2 run to start the second half after beginning the second half down by 15 points. Durant and Westbrook did struggle early on in that third quarter, but as the third quarter got going, Russell Westbrook did miss some shots, but he began to get hot, and then Kevin Durant scored 14 total in that third quarter, including a buzzer beater at the end of the third quarter, and he has a tremendous third quarter, and really the third quarter is where they won this game tonight. And that proves that it's not always going to have to come down to that last second shot. It was actually 108-106, I should say, for the final score. It's not always going to come down to that last shot for who wins the game, but it's going to come down to who can make the big shots throughout the course of the game to maybe not even have to be in that position to make that last shot. Now in the fourth quarter, the Thunder had a pretty decent lead, but as I expected, the Spurs did this in Game 1 and they got close within striking distance today. So the Thunder got tied up in the corner, and they got the ball to Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant pretty much got fouled. I don't really understand why that wasn't called, but he gets it to, I believe it was Thabo Sefolosha, and Thabo stands there and just, I mean, he got an appendectomy basically. I don't know how that was not called a foul in the first place. And then the ball goes out of bounds off him. Now, I do agree that the ball was off him, but the fact that a foul was not called there earlier shows that the refs watched the game last night between the Heat and the Celtics, and they really did not want to decide the game on a foul call, so they kind of let one go there. And you can go to replay to look at a play in terms of who it went off of, but as far as I understand it, you're not allowed to go to replay and change a call from just going out of bounds off someone to a foul. And it's really an opinion thing there, but if you ask me, that one was a pretty obvious one. You can look at some of those calls last night and maybe say, well, I don't think Paul Pierce really should have fouled out there. There's people that said LeBron James probably shouldn't have fouled out. I think he probably should have, but you look at this one, and this one was so obvious. Steven Jackson grabbed him by like his hips and basically forced him to cough up the ball, and it went off out of bounds off him. And they did review it. They had about a 5-minute, I don't know what you want to call it, timeout intermission. While they looked at the replay, Greg Popovich had time to draw up a play, and ultimately they could not draw up a play that was good enough because Manu Ginobili ends up settling with about 4 seconds left for a pretty bad shot. It was a 3. I mean, it wasn't a terrible look, but it was an off-balance shot, and that's not the type of look you want to be getting at that point in the game. And he settles for that shot. It does not go. The Thunder ultimately hit a few foul shots. Kevin Durant does a nice job there. And, I mean, we never used to look at foul shots as clutch, but the way things have gone throughout this NBA playoffs, Rajon Rondo's missed some big ones. Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, we've seen some big stars miss some clutch free throws, and Kevin Durant decided that he was not going to be the latest one to do that tonight. And the Oklahoma City Thunder, a week ago, they were the Choklahoma City Thunder. They now are one game away from the NBA Finals for a team that is only in their 4th year in Oklahoma City. And I do feel bad for the people in Seattle that lost this team, because that was an absolute joke that this team was taken away before some of the other teams. But then I look around the NBA, and Oklahoma City has become one of the most passionate fan bases in the NBA, and to see them go home in a Game 6 and win it in front of that home crowd would kind of be a cool thing. That being said, I mean, I'm not rooting for the Thunder or Spurs in this series. I'm just enjoying these games. The Spurs, I've really enjoyed watching them throughout the series, because you see Tim Duncan just make these incredible cuts, and Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili are just able to find him. And at age like 36, Tim Duncan still looks really good. I think he's one of the top 10 players that's ever played in this game, the big fundamental, and he's had one of the most, maybe not like the sexiest career. He hasn't gotten like the notoriety of a Kobe Bryant or what LeBron James has gotten, or even some of the other players that have played throughout this era. But when you're going to look back at what Tim Duncan's done, it's really going to be impressive, and it would be nice to see him get that 5th title, be right up there with Kobe as the two guys that really led the era. They both end up with 5 championships. I mean, Kobe Bryant could still win a few more rings. He's only like 33 years old, but let's say he doesn't. Tim Duncan wins one more this year, and I mean, it would be cool to see them both end up with the same amount of rings. That being said, it's going to be an interesting Game 6. Going back to Oklahoma City, I thought that the Thunder kind of had to win this game tonight, because if they lost this, they had their backs against the wall, had to win the next 2, and I was confident that they could win a Game 6 in Oklahoma City, but winning a Game 7 in San Antonio did not seem very likely to me, and they did a good enough job tonight. For me, they're going to have to step it up in the first half. Russell Westbrook, throughout this entire game, he got the most minutes on the team, 23 points, 12 assists. That looks nice, 4 steals, but he turned the ball over 6 times, shot 9 of 24. He's had a disappointing series. Has he been effective on defense? Yes, he has. Has he had his moments on offense? Of course. That breakaway dunk where Harden got the ball, dishes to Durant, and then he throws the alley-oop to Russell Westbrook is one of the reasons that I enjoy watching Russell Westbrook play so much, because of his athleticism. I think him and Derrick Rose are 2 of the most exciting players to watch in the NBA right now, just off their sheer athleticism. And then you add in the skills that they bring to the table, and it makes it even more fun to watch. But Russell Westbrook still needs some fine-tuning, and I think that becomes evident when we see games like this, and games like even Game 4 he did not play very well. He's got to step it up. If this team is going to win an NBA Finals, whether they play the Boston Celtics or whether they play the Miami Heat, I mean, you can make a case that neither of those teams are better than the Spurs, but Russell Westbrook is going to have to play a better role, be more efficient than what he has done in this series. Kevin Durant, 10 of 19, 27 points. The only thing I could really say about him is maybe get a couple more points in the first half, but in that 3rd and 4th quarter, he has been a killer throughout these playoffs. He has been absolutely tremendous. 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals for him, 4 turnovers today. So they do need to cut down on the turnovers. It's 16 total turnovers, but the good thing for them is that they're a fast team that likes to get on the break, and they force turnovers, and the Spurs had 21 tonight. 34 points from Manu Ginobili. He had a tremendous game for them. 11 of 20, 5 of 9 from beyond the arc, and 7 of 8 from the line. Also with 7 of 6 and 6 rebounds. He won them Game 1 essentially, and he had a really nice game tonight. Ultimately, was just not enough for them to get the win. In 41 minutes, Tony Parker had 20 points, 5 turnovers though, and shot 5 of 14, so really not an efficient game for him. Tim Duncan had a really nice game though, 4 of 5 from the line, 7 of 10 from the field, 18 points for them. Off the bench, Steven Jackson's been a really nice addition, bringing him back into the fold. 6 of 10 from the field, 4 of 7 from downtown, 3 assists, 2 steals, and only 2 turnovers. And the one other guy I want to mention on the Oklahoma City bench, I mentioned Nick Collison, James Harden. Sometimes he goes under the microscope because of A, the fact that he's a 6th man still and he doesn't start, but so is Manu Ginobili. And B, the fact that you have Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant on this team. But James Harden, a lot of times when you see these great finishes between Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, James Harden's the one that gets them the ball on the break. and that goes unsaid a lot of times, and I'm not going to allow it to continue to go unsaid. A lot of times it's Serge Ibaka or Kendrick Perkins as well getting the outlet pass to them. And this is a fast team, and that's why so many people have hopped on this team's bandwagon and enjoy watching them. I mean, they really are one of the most fun teams to watch in the NBA. And the Spurs, I enjoy watching just as much. I think a lot of people feel that they're boring. It's a different style, obviously. A lot of people like the get on the break style. But I also like the half-court offense, make the cuts, dish it around until ultimately something will happen. And that's the style that the Spurs want. This has been a great series, and I would not be surprised at all if the Spurs still could win this series. My guess is that the Thunder do finish this off in Game 6. They have all the momentum right now. My guess is that they finish it off in Game 6 and go to the NBA Finals for the first time in the history of the Oklahoma City Thunder.